Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Tom Kenobi channel, and today I'm going to be bringing back the Star Wars Battlefront 2 content. Now I know I haven't posted some Battlefront 2 content in a while. That's because I've been grinding on the game recently, punching out a bunch of Star Wars videos in general and working on just some challenges and other videos that aren't Star Wars based. Yeah, so I'm bringing back Battlefront 2 content today, and today I'm going to be ranking all 22 Star Wars Battlefront 2 heroes and villains from worst to best up to April of 2020. So let's get right into it. So coming in as the worst out of the lot, the worst villain and hero combined is going to be BB-9E. A top-of-the-line astromech droid, BB-9E was assigned to the Supremacy, the flagship of Supreme Leader Snoke, to keep machinery, procedures, and potential intruders in check. The reason I have ranked BB-9E in 22nd place is that he's mostly designed as a passive player and support to the team and allies. BB-9E is definitely not the greatest character when it comes to hand-to-hand combat or lightsaber combat, but can maneuver away from sticky situations very easily due to his speed and can normally infiltrate and flank a group of enemies using the shock spin ability provided, supported by the smoke screen ability, which allows the player to go undetected while deploying a canister of smoke and revealing nearby enemy positions at the same time. Combining the right star cards can also improve BB-9E's offensive side as well as his base maximum health. Let's move on. So, coming in 21st place is Bosque. Bosque is a hunter able to go on the offensive to root out his prey with deadly dioxis gas or keep his distance and snipe from afar, protecting his position with mines. The reason I have ranked Bosque in 21st place is that he is mostly designed as a precise lone player who scouts out and snipes the enemy and or enemies with his Roby V10, which can be charged up to deal an excruciating amount of damage. Bosque is also partly designed as an explosive specialist, as he can infiltrate his enemies using his Predator Instincts ability, which enables the player to load his gun with high damage micro grenades and engages his Trandoshan instincts, gaining thermal vision to expose the enemy to the team, his allies, or even himself, while enhancing his physical strength, which improves Bosque's hand-to-hand combat and results to better meleeing abilities. Combining the right star cards can allow Bosque to push his enemies up front while taking less damage overall with the help of his Dioxis grenade and proximity mines. We now move on to 20th place. In 20th place I have Emperor Palpatine. Emperor Palpatine eliminates whole groups of enemies at a time using his powerful manipulation of the Force to slow, stun, and pummel them with lightning. The reason I have ranked the Emperor in 20th position is that once again he is partly a support player and a passive requirement to the team, but mostly an aggressive force to be reckoned with that over time can progress ground upon his enemies. Emperor Palpatine can support his allies by using the Electrocute ability, which allows him to electrocute and stun his enemies in front of him while immobilizing them at the same time. As well as this, Palpatine can severely damage and weaken the enemy by activating his Dark Aura ability, which allows him to charge the air around him with force energy, damaging all nearby enemies as well as striking them with electricity. Emperor Palpatine can easily evade enemies and maneuver away from them thanks to his dodges and force jumping. Anyone that tries to challenge the Emperor by coming up close can answer to his Chain Lightning ability, which allows the player to unleash a burst of lightning which hits a target and spreads to those around them, as well as his melee ability. Combining the right mixture of star cards can allow the Emperor to become greatly powerful on the offensive side when attacking his enemies, as well as resulting in great support to himself. Coming in 19th position is BB-8. A brave and resourceful astromech droid, BB-8 accompanied Poe Dameron on many dangerous missions for the Resistance. Despite his modest appearance, he saved his friends multiple times, giving the saying, "Never underestimate a droid," its full meaning. The reason I have ranked BB-8 in 19th place is that he is mostly designed as a passive player and support to the team and his allies, who can then go on the attacking side and take out huge amounts of the enemy who are all in one position. BB-8 can go on the offensive and attack his enemies from behind with the Cable Spin ability, which allows him to deploy his cables and lash out with the spin, inflicting high damage to all close by enemies. BB-8 then picks off each enemy one by one and supports the Resistance by enabling his Resistance backing ability, which allows him to scramble enemy radars while revealing hostiles to himself and his allies. If attacked, revealed enemies will take increased damage. BB-8 also supports his allies by passively increasing the cooldown speed of friendly characters around him, and can roll into battle with the Rolling Charge ability, which allows BB-8 to charge forward to knock down or damage the first enemy standing in his path. If blocked, the enemy is still staggered and damaged. This normally helps clear a pack of enemy players and can then count as 2 units when capturing a point and activates objectives faster. Combining the right star cards allows BB-8 to become a stronger unit and managing to take out more of his enemies while at the same time gaining more base maximum health. Moving on to number 18 is Iden Versio. Commander Iden Versio leads the Special Forces unit Inferno Squad. An expert pilot and soldier, she solves problems through unconventional means. The reason I ranked Iden Versio in 18th position is that her base amount of health is mostly very weak, especially when going head to head with a lightsaber wielder. Iden is designed to wreak havoc upon her enemies with her TL-50 heavy repeater, and by using her stun droid ability, which allows Iden to send her droid to an enemy in front of her, stunning the target. The stun can chain to nearby enemies. As well as this, Iden Versio can retreat or sneak away from the battle by activating her droid shield ability, which allows Iden's droid to create a shield around her, protecting her from incoming blast damage while she climbs the trenches of the map and prepares to snipe her enemies by inflicting severe damage with her pulse cannon, which is an incredibly powerful long-range rifle utilizing the frame assembly of a DLT-20A. While scoped, the shots are charged for maximum damage. While a distance away from her enemies or lurking in the shadows behind them, Iden can switch modes on her blaster to secondary fire and obliterate the opposition with her alternative methods. Combining a good mixture of star cards can allow Iden Versio to become less vulnerable to damage, as well as being on the lookout for enemies and using her blaster's alternate fire much more frequently. We now move on to position 17th, Boba Fett. Boba Fett hunts his enemies by ambushing them with concussion missiles and deadly wrist rockets, all the while staying on the move with his jetpack. The reason I decided to rank Boba Fett in 17th place on this list is that he is a very aggressive, defensive and powerful character. Boba Fett uses his concussion rockets to fire a single shot, dazing enemies caught in the blast and disabling their blaster for 1.2 seconds. Dazed heroes using lightsabers cannot follow their target while performing their lightsaber attacks. As well as this, Boba also enables his For the Hunt ability, which allows enemies around Boba Fett to be revealed for a short period of time to his whole team, during which Boba disappears from enemy radars and can utilize unlimited jetpack fuel to fall back from the fight or get to height and perform his rocket barrage ability on weak and suffering enemies, or to severely damage and weaken them if they are not already, and allows Boba Fett to fire a hail of small rockets launching from his gauntlet. As well as this, Boba regains health for each defeated enemy, and with the right combination of star cards, he can gain high ground above his enemies faster and do more damage and extend the ammunition of his rocket barrage ability. So coming in number 16th place is Lando Calrissian. Lando Calrissian uses cunning and gadgets to confuse and then ambush his opponents with his heat vision enabled X8 Night Sniper pistol. You won't see Lando if he sees you first. The reason I've decided to rank Lando Calrissian as 16th position is that he is quite a powerful character if you play him the right way, and can deal and inflict a very high amount of damage to his enemies, as well as assisting his teammates with his enabled fast fire rate on his blaster and activating his smoke grenade and disable abilities. Lando uses these abilities to his and his team's advantage by deploying a sticky device which reveals nearby enemies and disrupts their radars. He can overcharge this disabler at any time to shock enemies around it. As well as this, Lando can also deploy a smoke grenade which obscures the view of his enemies, but not of his Night Sniper's thermal scope. Villains using lightsabers inside the smoke area cannot follow their target while performing their lightsaber attacks. As Lando and his team retreat for help and to high ground, he can activate his Sharp Shot ability, which allows Lando Calrissian to focus on up to 5 enemies before delivering a flurry of powerful shots against each one. Lando can then finish the enemy off with his good old trusty X8 Night Sniper pistol and its fast fire rate. And just for good measures, Lando Calrissian also regains health for each defeated enemy. Combining the perfect match of star cards can improve Lando's base maximum health and heat reduction of his blaster. We now move on to number 15, Chewbacca. Chewbacca uses his bowcaster to fire charged shots at his enemies, and his physical strength to pummel and smash close targets. He is hardy enough to withstand even the most powerful attacks. The reason I rank Chewbacca in 15th spot in this list is that he is a very powerful and strong unit, and uses his aggression and brute force to take out even the most dangerous villains threatening the galaxy. The Wookiee uses pure aggression and physical strength and attributes to take on his enemies while at the same time assisting his teammates with his shock grenade ability. This allows Chewbacca to throw a grenade which can be broken into a cluster of smaller missiles which electrocute enemies they hit, while at the same time allowing Chewbacca to lower a group of enemies' defenses as he charges forward, taking less overall damage and slams his fists into the ground when re-triggered, dealing high damage and knocking enemies off their feet. This ability can be activated from the air. Chewbacca can then finish off his enemies by activating his Furious Bowcaster ability, which allows him to roar and overcharge his bowcaster, enabling him to fire fully charged shots with no charge time. As well as this, Chewbacca also regains health for each defeated enemy, and combining the best star cards will allow Chewbacca to take a significant amount less of damage, while on the offensive dealing more to his opponents. We now move on to 14th place, Captain Phasma. A commanding officer of the First Order, Captain Phasma uses every tool possible to ensure her survival. Her Star Strikes allows her to deal with attackers who are foolish enough to come close. The reason I ranked Captain Phasma in 14th place on this list is that she is quite the aggravator and support player who likes to take things into her own hands sometimes. Captain Phasma is a very balanced character and very powerful and offensive one too. Phasma charges into battle by activating her Survivor ability, which allows her to become relentless and never give up. This means that she can increase her health pool temporarily while taking on some of the strongest enemies. While obliterating the enemy with her blaster, Captain Phasma can activate her First Order Sentry Droid ability to protect her from incoming Force users, which allows her to deploy a Sentry Droid which can blast at enemies while revealing its target. It utilizes automatic shock functionality against nearby enemies. Anyone that comes too close to Captain Phasma of the First Order can pay the price of her Staff Strikes ability, which allows her to unfold her staff to deliver devastating strikes to enemies foolish enough to approach. If chained together, the third attack is even more powerful than the previous ones. If this isn't enough, Phasma also regains health for each defeated enemy, and creating the perfect match of star cards will allow her droid to have a larger shock radius, as well as gaining damage reduction for herself, and reducing the heat of her Son Blast F11D blaster rifle. We now move on to 13th place, Han Solo. Han Solo is a sharpshooter who quickly dispatches his enemies with the high power of his heavily modified DL-44 blaster. He's not afraid to charge into battle and finish the job with explosives if the going gets tough. The reason I ranked Han Solo in 13th place on this list is that he is quite the modest and center role-playing character. Han can normally take down any situation, whether it's personal and up close against a Sith Lord, or from far away aiming at a bounty hunter, dealing heavy amounts of the damage that his team applies. Once again, Han Solo is a very balanced character and carries traits of an attacker. Solo deploys himself in the midst of chaos and attempts to clean the enemies out by activating his sharpshooter ability, which allows Han to fire the DL-44 rapidly for a short amount of time. Han then backs this up with his Detonite Charge ability, which allows Solo to throw a sticky charge which can be detonated at will, forcing the enemies to retreat. Any enemies that come up to the smuggler can deal with the wrath of his explosives. Han Solo will then power through his opposition or create space and leave them behind with his Shoulder Charge ability. This ability allows Han Solo to charge forward, knocking over and damaging the first enemy he hits. Enemies are damaged and staggered when blocking. Solo also regains health for each defeated enemy, and concocting the right mixture of star cards will improve the damage and the base radius for his Detonite Charge, as well as his blaster building less heat when firing. Number 12. Darth Maul. Darth Maul uses his expert lightsaber skills and aggressive force powers to quickly assault and overrun the enemy one at a time. I have placed Darth Maul, the son of Dathomir, in 12th position because he is a very aggressive and offensive character and has a very athletic, fast and swift playstyle to his name. Maul confronts his enemy by surprise with agility and speed, and attempts to wipe out the opposition with his chokehold ability, which allows the Sith Lord to use the Force to choke his enemies before throwing them to the ground. While staggered on the ground, Darth Maul will then activate his Furious Throw ability, which hurls his lightsaber, damaging all enemies it touches, at the same time progressing swiftly and aggressively to his opposition by performing the Spin Attack ability, which allows Maul to leap forward, executing a high-velocity lightsaber spin attack. Darth Maul will then finish the scum off with his precision lightsaber skills and will dodge any last incoming attacks with his acrobatics. The son of Dathomir also regains health for each defeated enemy, which will make him stronger and more powerful when killing Jedi, and as well as this, applying the right selection of star cards can improve his damage reduction from blasters, and to conquer this, When chokeholding 2 or more enemies, the damage is increased, as well as the fact that he can throw the enemy farther away. 11. Finn. FN2187 was trained since birth to serve the First Order as a soldier and highly trained marksman. A skirmish on Jakku awakened his conscience and drove him down a different path, one that earned him the nickname Finn and established him as a leader of the Resistance. The reason I've decided to rank Finn in 11th place is that he is a very powerful, bold, aggressive, team, self and ally support, as well as a very maneuverable hero. Finn makes the enemy pay for the damage and harm they have inflicted on the galaxy by activating his Big Deal ability, which allows Finn to inspire nearby allies, supplying them with extra health, damage reduction, no weapon cooldown, and faster ability recharge, as well as himself. He will then back this up with his Deadeye ability, which allows Finn to target one enemy in front of him with his EL-16 and make sure every blaster shot hits and deals inflicting damage. To provide passive support to his team, Finn at any time can equip his trusty Glee 44, leading his allies behind enemy lines, granting increased sprint speed, cover from enemy radars, and awareness of enemy locations. Once again, Finn also regains health for each defeated enemy, and with the right combination of star cards, the radius of Big Deal is increased if 2 allies are affected. While Deadeye is active, any enemies he defeats will extend its duration, and finally, Finn's Deadeye has a larger lock-on radius. 10th position, Leia Organa. Leia Organa serves as an anchor for the team, deploying her enhanced squad shield to provide cover, once incapacitating the enemy with flash grenades, but now scattering enemies with her thermal detonators, and punishing villains close to her with her deadly E11. Leia applies her focus to the battle and intrigues to lead the team by activating her rapid fire ability, which swaps her blaster for an enhanced E11 assault rifle and allows her to blast enemies with a stream of very aggressive laser fire. To back this up and make sure her and her team is safe and protected while doing this, she will deploy her squad shield at her location. Inside the safety of her shield, Leia is able to be protected from blaster fire and regenerate some health, while either pushing her enemies, flanking them from behind, or taking even more precautions behind the safety of her squad shield. Leia can throw up to 3 thermal detonators that will explode after a short time. This ability enters cooldown when all 3 detonators have been thrown. Organa, the leader of the Rebellion and Resistance, also regains health on elimination, and choosing the perfect star cards allows the alternate fire on her Defender blaster to do bonus damage, as well as the E11 rapid fire blaster being fired for a longer period as the time reduction per blaster shot is decreased, and while within 15 meters of 2 friendly units, Leia and her close allies will take reduced damage. 9th, Yoda. Yoda is an expert at turning defense into attack, using the Force to repel blaster fire, heal his wounds and protect him from harm while using his lightsaber to inflict damage. I have placed Yoda in 9th position on this list because he is a very offensive, at times aggressive, speedy, swift, athletic and agile character. The Grand Master of the Jedi arrives in battle to change the tide of the conquest and war by wiping out the enemy one by one up front, while at the same time dodging incoming blaster fire and supporting his allies and more of the Republic. If Yoda has drained too much stamina or decides to charge up his block attack, he can. With enough power, strength, manipulation with the Force and absorbed energy, he can perform his Unleash ability. This ability allows Yoda to unleash the Force in a cone in front of himself, damaging and pushing enemies back. When Yoda blocks damage using his block ability, the range and damage of Unleash is increased for a short time. To back this up and provide his team and himself with support, the old yet nimble Jedi Master can activate his Presence ability, which allows Yoda to instantly heal himself and allies around him. When the ability is activated, he will also break out of any immobilizing effect. Once the opposition are fallen and staggered, Yoda can speedily and swiftly perform his dash attack. By doing this, Yoda can leap forward up to 2 times, dealing damage without being blocked. This also acts as a maneuverable ability to get around the map, as well as a pathway to retreat for the time being. The green-like species can also regain health on elimination, and combining the right star cards allows Yoda to have bonus health, less stamina when striking and swinging his lightsaber with ease, and the area of effect of Unleash growing faster when absorbing blaster shots. Rank 8, General Grievous. General Grievous was the supreme commander of the Separatist army. Once a feared warlord from the planet Kali, he heavily modified his body using cybernetic implants that dominate his enemies in battle. The reason I rank General Grievous in 8th place on this list and in this video is that he is a very aggressive, powerful, unrelenting and advancing machine monstrosity of a character and villain. The Jedi Hunter crawls into battle and slowly but aggressively advances on his enemies, by activating the Unrelenting Advance ability. This allows the general to ignite all 4 lightsabers, deflecting attacks and inflicting damage on anyone foolish enough to challenge him. Come close and you will meet your fate at the end of their weapon for a more civilized age. The cyborg can then take out an enemy before murdering the next bunch with his Thrust Surge ability, which allows General Grievous to lunge forward, stabbing his enemy as he pins them down. Grievous will then make the next bunch of opposition players suffer with the Claw Rush ability. Dropping to a crawl, Grievous scrambles forward, damaging his enemies as he drives them back. To make the Supreme Commander of the Separatist army withstand the test of time, the machine-like human regains health for each defeated enemy, and applying the best star cards can allow him to inflict more damage, target enemies further away, and with every 10% health missing, General Grievous gains damage reduction, but his health regeneration speed is halved. 7. Count Dooku. Count Dooku was a Sith Lord and the leader of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Once trained by Grandmaster Yoda, he turned his back on the Jedi Order and devoted himself to the dark side. I have ranked the Count in 7th position because he is a very offensive, bit aggressive, strong, powerful and tactical character. Dooku or Tyrannus will be sent into battle to persuade the enemy about their choices and convince them to turn to the dark side of the Force. If resisting, then the Sith Lord will make you turn by activating his Lightning Stun ability, which allows Count Dooku to release lightning upon his enemies, throwing them to the ground and inflicting harm. This ability does higher damage the less targets it hits. If not giving in to the power of the dark side, then the Darth Tyrannus will challenge the tide of the battle with his Expose Weakness ability. This allows the Count to influence his target with slower movement and an increased amount of damage taken from himself and his allies, while also removing any extra health. If he sees to the elimination of his target personally, this ability is instantly recharged. Dooku will then back this up with the Duelist ability, which allows the Count to change to a more offensive lightsaber style, performing faster and more powerful attacks. As well as this, Count Dooku regains health for each defeated enemy, and creating the perfect mixture of star cards can allow him to deal even more damage, inflicting more damage to his target, and the fact that Exposed Weakness is active on the enemy target for a longer time. Rank 6. Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker uses his lightsaber skills and the Force to be on the front lines of battle. His high maneuverability enables him to rush his enemies and avoid damage. I have ranked Luke in 6th place because he is a very balanced, strong, powerful, speedy, agile, maneuverable, aggressive, defensive, offensive support player. Luke uses the Force to guide him into battle where he gives it everything he's got to wipe out the enemies once and for all. He will take any means necessary, resulting in the Force or his lightsaber skills. If this doesn't work, he will send the opposition plummeting to the ground with his Repulse ability. This allows Luke Skywalker to send a burst of Force energy out from the ground, dealing damage to any enemies nearby. Luke can then finish anyone left over with his Push ability, which allows Skywalker to use the Force to push enemies in front of him, knocking them over ledges or into danger. The former farm boy from Tatooine can activate his Rush ability to push the enemies up front or retreat and provide his team with support. This ability allows him to use the Force to enhance his speed and quickly move in any direction while swinging his lightsaber. Luke Skywalker also regains health on elimination, and combining the right selection of star cards will enable Repulse to do bonus damage, blaster shots to be deflected more accurately, and highly improved lightsaber damage. 5. Rey. Rey's survival instincts give her an expanded awareness of the battlefield, which she uses to ambush her enemies and confuse them with mind tricks. Her lightsaber skills allow her to finish them off up close. The reason I've decided to rank Rey in 5th place is that she is a very powerful, strong, aggressive, offensive, open-minded, aware, speedy, agile and athletic character. The former Jakku scavenger provides support to her team and allies by fighting on the front lines of battle and holding off the enemy for as long as she can. Rey does this by taking out groups of enemies that are together, as well as singling them out and taking their lives one by one. She does this by performing her Dash Strike ability, which allows Rey to charge forward with her lightsaber, dealing damage to enemies on the way as well as knocking them to their feet. The lightsaber wielder will go behind enemy lines and reveal the opposition by getting a clear view of them by activating the Insight ability. Rey senses her surroundings, revealing all nearby enemies to her while she disappears from their radars. Her stamina costs are halved and her damage is increased while this ability is active. To back this up and clear the ruckus that her enemies have made, she will use her Mind Trick ability to finish them off once and for all. This allows the female Force user to cause nearby enemies to be dazed and confused for a brief duration. Rey will then stop them once and for all with the precise skills and bravery of herself and her lightsaber skills. Rey also regains health for each defeated enemy, and selecting the perfect star cards allow her to gain an extra dodge ability charge, longer duration for mind trick on targets that are revealed by insight, and receiving less damage overall and while charging forward with dash strike. 4. ObiWan Kenobi. Obi-Wan was a Jedi Master and General of the Galactic Republic. During the Clone Wars, he commanded the 212th Attack Battalion and defeated General Grievous on Utapau. I have ranked Obi-Wan in 4th position because he is a very balanced, offensive, bit aggressive, defensive, wise, powerful, strong, tactical, strategical, open-minded, aware, speedy, agile, and maneuverable character and hero. The former general, Kenobi pursues the trace of evil, and powers through his enemies with the guidance of the Force and the instinct of his body and mind, all while controlling his power and emotions. The Jedi Master does this by performing his defensive rush ability and trait, which allows him to demonstrate his bravery by surging towards any enemy is foolish enough to cross his path, deflecting blaster fire as known to be a master of and at ease with Ceresu, as well as choosing to deliver a final strike at any time. Obi-Wan Kenobi will rely on this to get the job done, but if it doesn't quite, then he can resort to his power, knowledge, and strength in the Force to perform an all-out push. The lessons of the Jedi mantra inspire Obi-Wan to resolve conflict without emotion, pushing back his attackers and extending his reach. To change the tide in conflict and battle, Obi will activate his restrictive mind trick ability, which allows his mastery of the Force to influence the weak-minded, and in the case of Master Kenobi, even subvert his enemy's desire to use their abilities against him. The Negotiator will then silence his opposition with the swift stroke and blade of his lightsaber, an elegant weapon for a more civilized age. Once again, Obi-Wan Kenobi regains health for each defeated enemy, and combining the best star cards can improve the damage of his lightsaber hits, as well as the base and charged up range of his all-out push ability, and gaining a permanent reduction to all his stamina costs to a maximum. 3rd, Kylo Ren. Kylo uses lethal lightsaber attacks and force powers to destroy enemies up close. Kylo is ranked 3rd on this list because he is a super aggressive, bit offensive, open-minded, powerful, strong, speedy, swift, agile, and maneuverable character. Kylo will start the rampage and cause the ruckus of the battle, and if it doesn't go his way, then you better watch out. Kylo Ren demolishes the competition with his frenzy attack, allowing him to enter a frenzied rage and leap from enemy to enemy, striking them with his lightsaber and reducing damage dealt to him. The Twisted Monster has the ability to freeze his opponents to make them helpless and vulnerable, as well as easy to murder. The Dark User of the Force freezes all enemies in front of him, immobilizing them for a duration in which he can steadily advance without leaving anyone behind. Anyone who doesn't dare to come close and face Ren can suffer to his pull ability. This allows Kylo to use the Force to pull enemies ahead off their feet and towards him as he hunts for the kill. Kylo Ren can then finish off any remaining enemies by slicing and tearing through their very soul, with the hard stinging slash of his crackling and furious red-bladed crossguard lightsaber. Kylo Ren regains health on elimination, and applying the correct match and configuration of star cards can allow him to receive less damage and deal more damage, while Freeze has an increased area of effect and practically doubling the duration of the frenzy ability by Ren's lightsaber strikes dealing more damage for an amount of time. 2nd, Anakin Skywalker. Padawan to Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker became a Jedi Knight during the Clone Wars. Secretly married to Padme Amidala, he was the biological father of Leia and Luke. I have decided to rank Anakin Skywalker in 2nd position due to the fact that he is a super powerful, aggressive, strong, uncontrollable, defensive, bit offensive, agile, athletic character due to being believed as the apparent chosen one of the time. Anakin propels himself into battle with the help and balance of the Force, as well as his master's training and guidance and Skywalker's self-instincts. He does this by performing his heroic knight ability, which allows Anakin to take highly reduced damage while holding the ability. When released, he pushes all enemies around him, with range being increased by the amount of damage taken while held. Once enemies are staggered and defenseless, Anakin will use the Force once again and perform his pull dominance ability, which allows him to pull enemies in front of him to a center point, leaving them open for attacks. If a very powerful character such as a hero or villain, Skywalker will activate the Passionate Strike ability to severely weaken his challenger. Anakin unleashes a heavy strike, breaking his opponent's guard and dealing high damage. Annie will then go on to power through the enemy by manipulating the Force to his liking or engaging them in melee combat, where he will come out on top with his lightsaber skills at ease, 9 times out of 10. Once reached a colossal amount of enemies, the Chosen One can activate and power his Retribution ability, which allows Anakin's powers to intensify whenever he and any nearby allies are attacked, splitting towards the ultimate punishment of a swift and inescapable grip, seizing all enemies around him. Anakin Skywalker also regains health on elimination, and attaching the perfect combo of Star Cards can allow you to deal more damage with pull dominance, the base radius of heroic might becoming larger, and the decrease of all stamina cost to a maximum. 1. Darth Vader. Darth Vader's high survivability and powerful force powers enable him to stand on the front lines and slowly advance on his enemies. I have decided to rank Darth Vader, a Dark Lord of the Sith, in first place on this list and in this video because, as we all know, he killed Anakin Skywalker metaphorically, and is a very super powerful, strong, aggressive, angry, defensive, bit offensive, open-minded, unrelenting and steady character. Vader arrives at the battle with a stinging burn of hatred and aggression, and is ready for most things, being willed and guided by the Force. Darth entitles his position as second Emperor and the most powerful being in the galaxy, more machine than man, by channeling his focused raged ability. Darth Vader channels the dark side of the Force and focuses his rage. The stamina cost of his melee strikes is halved, and they deal bonus damage while he receives temporary bonus health. This enables him to slaughter anyone in his way and interfering with the plans of the Emperor and the Empire. To control the body of his opposition, Vader activates his choke ability, which allows him to choke a cluster of enemies ahead of him, dragging them off the ground and through the air to drop them into danger. Darth then has the option to perform a lightsaber throw to wipe out the enemies that are within his grip once and for all, or to disintegrate any bystanders and spectators by throwing his lightsaber, cutting through and dealing damage to any enemies in the way. Darth Vader regains health for each defeated enemy, and creating the perfect selection of Star Cards allows him to have increased maximum health, choke for a longer time, and when killing an enemy, gaining stamina back. Thanks for watching, guys. As I said before, this video has taken me forever to make, at the very least over 2 months now, so I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please force push the like button as it does help out my channel a lot, and subscribe to join the Kenobi crew. If you haven't already, also turn on post notifications as you don't want to miss the last couple of episodes in my Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Expanded novel series, as well as all the other content I post. May the Force be with you, always.